All right, today we're going to dive into a financial idea that might just flip everything you thought you knew about saving. It's called the 10-1 rule, and believe me, it's a pretty radical way to think about building and holding on to your wealth.
So let's kick things off with a number that is just baffling, a real financial mystery. In most Western countries, the average family saves about 5% of what they make. Now get this, in China, that number jumps to a mind-blowing 46%. No, that is not a typo. 46%. How on earth is that even possible? I mean, that's such a massive gap, it almost doesn't make sense, and it really points to a completely different way of thinking about money.
So, naturally, that leads us right to the big question. What is their secret? Seriously, how are millions of households pulling off a savings rate that feels like a fantasy to so many of us? And here's a hint. The answer isn't just make more money. Nope, it's about having a totally different blueprint for your finances. And that whole blueprint, that entire philosophy, it really all boils down to one single, powerful idea. This is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. And this is it, the 10-1 rule. Now I know it sounds extreme, but just hang with me for a second. The whole idea is to try and live on just 10%, 1/10 of your income. Yes, you heard me right. That means the other 90%, the huge majority, is funneled straight into savings and investments for your future. Look, it's a super ambitious goal, for sure. But the real magic isn't just the number. It's the mindset it forces you to adopt.
What this does is it completely flips traditional budgeting on its head. Forget all that 50-30-20 stuff. With this rule, the number one priority isn't what you spend, it's what you save. The vast bulk of your money is protected for your future before you can even think about spending it. Okay, I can practically hear you right now. You're thinking, 90%? Are you kidding me? That's impossible. And you know what? For a lot of people, yeah, in its strictest form, it might feel that way. But that raises the million-dollar question, right? How could anyone actually do this? It can't just be a matter of gritting your teeth and having more willpower.
And you're right, it's not. There's a very specific method that makes this whole mindset actually work in the real world. We're talking about budgeting with a real purpose. This is the how-to, the actual method behind the rule. This is where something called zero-based budgeting comes in. It's a really deliberate, intentional way to handle your money. Here's how it works. At the beginning of the month, you look at all your income. Then you subtract all of your expenses and your savings goals, and what's left should be zero, exactly zero. What you're doing is giving every single penny a specific job. This dollar pays rent, this one buys food, and this is the important part. This huge chunk goes straight to savings. No money is left just hanging out. Every cent has a mission. And the process itself is a pretty straightforward four-step loop. First, you figure out exactly how much money is coming in. Second, you list out everything you spend money on, big and small. Third, and this is the absolute key, you give every single one of those pennies a job to do. And fourth, you keep an eye on your spending and tweak things as you go. See, it's not some rigid, awful prison. It's about you becoming the boss of your money.
Now, having a system like this is absolutely crucial. It gives you the structure you need. But honestly, the numbers, the spreadsheets, that's only half the battle. To really make this thing work long-term, something much deeper has to change.
And that brings us to the other side of the coin, the mindset that makes the math possible. This is about the cultural shift, about learning to find real happiness in, well, simple pleasures.
So you've got these two totally different ways of living, right? On one side, you have the lifestyle that's all about expensive stuff. Fancy dinners, designer labels, things you buy to show off. But on the other side, you've got a life that's just rich in simple pleasures. Quality time with family and friends, making a great meal at home, just taking a walk outside. And the key thing here is that it's not about depriving yourself. Not at all. It's about finding so much genuine joy in the simple, cheap, or free things that the expensive stuff just doesn't seem that important anymore. Because at the end of the day, the goal here is not deprivation. It's about a huge cultural shift in what we value. It's about changing the question from what cool thing can I buy right now to what kind of awesome, secure future can I build? It's all about choosing long-term security over that quick, temporary buzz from buying something new.
So look, the 10-1 rule might be a pretty extreme North Star to aim for. But the ideas behind it, budgeting with purpose and really finding happiness in the simple things, those are powerful tools for absolutely anyone. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. When you strip it all away, what does preserving wealth actually mean to you? Is it freedom? Is it security? Maybe it's about leaving a legacy. Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.